Hey guys, Mr. Yeisley here. So we're on to lesson number 6 in chapter 4, which is all about writing linear function. And in lesson number 6, we're going to put together or put to use that process that we learned all about in lesson number 5, which is using the point-slope form in order to figure out based on the information that they gave us and plugging that information in. Now remember, they have to at least given us 2 points at minimum, or they could have given us a point and a slope, or they could give us a graph and we can figure some of that information out. So let's take a look at some of these examples. So example A says write an equation in point-slope form. All right, that's important, right? That they told us this is all they want, because that means that I don't need to simplify it down. So if you remember back in lesson number 5 at the very end on the last step, we said simplify if necessary. That's only if they tell you to get it into slope-intercept form. Because all they told us to do was write it in point-slope form, I do not need to simplify it past that. The next thing that I see is it write in point-slope form the line that passes through the point. So they gave me 1 point and said it has a slope of 1/4. Right? So first thing they gave me here was a point. Right? So I've got my point here of -8, 3, and then they gave me the slope. So again, remind yourself again that our point slope form is y minus y1 equals m times parentheses x minus x1. Now when we go to plug that information in, we're going to plug them in these spots. We're going to plug the point y1 or the coordinate y1 there, the coordinate x1 there from the point, and then we'll plug the slope in right here. Notice that nothing is going to be going in for, can't see all that. Nothing is going to be going in for this y right here or this x. Those are going to stay as they are. So let's take a look at that and let's plug that information in. So I've got this point of -8, 3. Now remember, this would be like x and y, or we could call it x1 and y1 because it's the only point we have. So I'm going to plug that information in. So I'm going to start with y minus y1, which is 3. So y minus 3 is equal to m, which what they told us was 1/4, times x, which is going to stay the same, minus x1, which is -8. So I've got this -8 right here. Well, the only thing I really need to do to simplify this, and I could have done it right at the beginning, but I want to make sure we're plugging things in correctly, is I've got this double negative right here, and I need to turn that into a positive. So the final form of point-slope form should look like this. Y minus 3 equals 1/4 times x plus 8. And that's all we have to do to plug that information in. We have now gotten it into point-slope form. We took the point that they gave us here, and we plugged it into the 2 appropriate spots here and here. Then we took the slope that they gave us, and we plugged it into the appropriate spot here. And the only thing we had to do to simplify in this case was to get rid of this double negative and write it as a positive. So y minus 3 equals 1/4 times x plus 8 is the point-slope form of this equation. All right, well now we've got example B here, so I'm going to move this up just a tad. And example B actually has 2 problems underneath it here. All right, so we've got 2 problems under example B, so we're going to work through both of them. Now, all they want us to do, if we look at this, is it says they want us to write it in point-slope form. So we want to get it into the y, and again, just a reminder of what that is, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. We want to get it into that form, right? And we've got 2 problems here that we're going to do it with. So we're going to do it first with this one. Then after we've done that, we're going to do it with this one. So I'm going to encourage you to try both of them on your own, then check your answer with mine. Well, for my first example on B, I'm going to label my ordered pair. I'm going to call this x1, y1. My slope is -2, and I'm going to plug that information in. So y minus y1 is negative 1, so I've got y minus negative 1, equal to m, which is negative 2, times x minus x1 is 3. Well, I've got it into point slope form, but I need to simplify it. All I need to do to simplify this one is I've got this double negative here, so I need to turn that into a positive. So this becomes y plus 1 equal to negative 2 times x minus 3. And that's all we need to do to simplify this one because they want us to keep it in point slope form. All right, well, I'd encourage you to try that second example if you haven't already under example B. So we've got a point of 4, 0, and then a slope m equals negative 2/3. So again, I'm going to label this as x1, y1, and I'm going to plug that information in. So I've got y minus y1, which is 0, equal to m, which is negative 2/3, times x minus x1, which was 4. Now, when I look at this, there is one thing I need to do to simplify this down. Anytime you subtract 0, it doesn't affect it, so this is going to go away. So my final form here would be y equals negative 2/3 times x minus 4. And that keeps it in point slope form. All right, well, we've got one more example here, example C, that we want to take a look at. Before you begin this one, and I'm going to encourage you to try it on your own, all right, even though it's a little different than the other ones we've seen to this point. Before you start it, I want to point one thing out. On example C, it says to write an equation in slope-intercept form, right, in slope-intercept form of the line shown, all right? Well, initially, they're going to want us to use the point slope form. So we're going to try to get it into y equals mx plus b. But we're going to do that by starting in point slope form, which again is y minus y1 equal to m times x minus x1. We're going to start there, and I'll show you how to get down from there in order to figure out your slope. Or to figure out your slope-intercept form, excuse me. All right, but I'd encourage you to try this and see if you can figure it out on your own, then check your answer with mine. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to figure out one point, all right, that I'm going to use, and then the slope. That's what I need to be able to use point slope form. Right, so first, they've already given me 2 points. They've said 3, negative 2 is a point on this line, and 1, 2 is a point on this line as well. So those are my points, and I can choose to use either one of them. I'm going to choose to use this first one at 1, 2. So I'm going to call this x1 and this one y1. Then I need to figure out the slope. So really kind of 2 courses of action I could do here. I could use slope formula and take the 2 points they've given me. Or because I have the graph, I can start at the farthest left point I know and move towards the next right point that I know, figuring out the slope that way, which is what I'm going to choose to do. So I'm going to start here at 1, 2 because that's the farthest left point I know on this line. And I see that I'm going to have to fall 1, 2, 3, 4 to get even with the next point that I know. So I had to fall negative 4. Then to get onto that point, I'm going to need to move to the right 1, 2, and so I'm moving to the right positive 2. So my slope, m equals fall negative 4 over move to the right 2. Well, I see that that can be simplified down. Negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. So my slope is negative 2. So now I've got my m. I also know a point on this line, so I can put it into point slope form, which again, reminder, is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So I'm going to plug that information in. So I've got y minus y1 is 2 equal to m, which is negative 2, times x minus my x1 is 1. So now I've got that information. Well, in order to get it down to slope-intercept form here, what we need to be able to do is we need to take this information, and now we got to use PEMDAS to simplify it down. Well, according to PEMDAS, or according to what you should already know, right, the first thing we need to do is distribute this -2 to the parentheses to get rid of the parentheses. So -2 times x, right, that is -2x, and -2 times -1 is +2. And that's all equal to y minus 2. Then, last thing I need to do, I've got to get the y by itself, so I need to get rid of this -2, so I'm going to add 2 across here and add 2 to this side as well. So I end up with those cancel, y equals -2x, and 2 plus 2 is +4. So y equals -2x plus 4. Now, we couldn't really tell exactly where the y-intercept was because they didn't give us enough of the graph, so we couldn't figure this out necessarily by itself. We could figure out the slope based on that, and then we just used one of the points, put it into point-slope form, and voila, worked it down to get into slope-intercept form. All right, well, if you have additional questions on that simplification process going from the point slope form here down to the slope intercept form, please let me know. But hopefully you got a grasp of how to use point slope form on this. If you have any additional questions, again, let me know. Otherwise, continue on to the next lesson.